Go ahead, Tom.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 24th, 2024 special meeting for the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Harbor Commissioners. May we start with a roll call, please?
Mateusz,
Present.
Commissioner Slater Carter, Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Present.
Commissioner Domrat.
Present. Present. All right, item B on our agenda is public comments and questions. I have 3 speaker slips. So before I read what was submitted via email, I'll start with our members present. Janet Brayer. Said your comment.
Morning, Janet Brayer, resident of El Granada. Would like to start in regard to this lease, expressing my concerns over the history of this. If you look at the lease agreement, I think it's very concise. It talks about the grant conditions for this parking lot. Or, well, it was a parking lot and it was public land used before. Now it's been privatized. The history is the fishermen's wives deeded this over to the community so that we could use it as a community asset as opposed to a privatized asset. I've reviewed the lease. I think it's inappropriate to sign a lease at this time, considering that the tenant that's now month to month is in breach of the lease. If you look at the lease, the proposed lease, Exhibit B is not attached, which is the 2019 permits, which are referred to within the lease. In particular, one of the breaches is this trees. It says removal and replacement of all landscape screening along the Highway 1 frontage of the subject site, including the cypress trees. That's it, resolution P1918. That was to be done within 120 days. It still has not done. Other conditions of the permit have not been fulfilled. The lease is written so that the tenant not only gets a 2-year lease, they get a 3-year option if they are fulfilling the conditions. Well, right now they have not fulfilled the conditions. I don't see the haste on having to renew a lease. It's month to month once the conditions are met, and we have certification that all these conditions have been met, which have not been met, then we can move forward with an appropriate lease. One of the concerns is that currently the tenant is in violation of the Coastal Act and the Local Protection Act. They are not preserving and protecting the property. One, the trees that I just pointed out, and the bathroom is not complete. That bathroom was previously a community bathroom. And when they put in the RV park, they closed it to make it look like it was not a community bathroom. Hence now we're getting the new bathroom. I don't know who paid for the new bathrooms. I don't know that. I understand that in the past it was supposed to be the tenant. I don't know if they have.
Yeah.
One of the other issues that's not addressed in this lease that's proposed is who's going to maintain those bathrooms. At page 7 of the lease agreement, it talks about the maintenance obligations of the tenant. Under this lease that we're looking at, it appears that the maintenance obligations run to the lessor. And I think that's inappropriate because in the past, there was a maintenance obligation for that bathroom, but under this current lease, there is no maintenance obligation. So that's another cost to the harbor and another taking of funds. Those are my main concern. I think parking is a huge issue. As you all know, the Burnham Strip, GCSD is moving forward with plans to develop the Burnham Strip. Mid-Coast Communities has been meeting on this.
What's the last one?
Don't seem to be talking one arm to the other. We have the Caltrans parking. Yeah, Caltrans wants to put in a bike lane. So that parking will be gone. This parking will be gone. Then the Burnham Plaza plans to take away all the parking except a minimal amount on this end, and then 4 handicaps at the community center. So there will be no parking whatsoever. This land that is now the RV park I respectfully request should be turned into parking for the community and for use for the community. I understand the harbor's looking for 15,000 a month, but there's other ways to raise revenue than to strip the community of an asset that was given to the harbor years ago by way of a grant.
Anna, you've exceeded 2 minutes twice.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Ed Lorenz.
First, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's shown up here, and I'm assuming you're all here to talk about the current agenda item. So the district continues. You guys, I've said this many times at meetings and even when I was a commissioner, you're making it really hard for the public to understand what's on the agenda. You're making it really hard for the public to come to these meetings at the hours that you have it. So behavior. I mean, some folks here just heard about this a day ago. So I'd like to give you a little bit of a history lesson. What do these things have in common? Yeltsin quits presidency of Russia. Vladimir Putin becomes acting president. The West Wing and the Sopranos debut. Clinton was president. And Surfrider asked the current tenant of the RV lot and the Harbor District to provide bathrooms to the public. The year was 1999. And here we are today, being held hostage by the potential leasee again. He managed to do 25 years without providing the public with bathrooms. And you know how he did it? By playing the different agencies against each other. Coastal Commission, Harbor District, City of Half Moon Bay, pointing fingers at each other. And then when I became a commissioner, years later, we tried to do this again, and he threatened litigation, saying that the lease did not require him to provide bathrooms to the public, only to his tenants. So now you guys, not learning history, you're set to give the same guy essentially another 20-year lease and expecting a different behavior? You've got to be kidding. I'll finish there. You've got two letters, and for the public, there's two letters that I wrote, and there's the letter that Lisa Ketchum wrote, who's the planning commissioner, about this very subject, and it's on the website.
John Mosley.
Hi, I'm John Mosley, El Granado resident. I came to speak against the Harbor District renewing the lease with the current lessee. And I yield my time to Janet Breyer.
Janet, you've taken 2 segments already.
Okay, I'll get someone else to yield the time. I think part of the problem here is most of the community was not aware that this was happening today. So they haven't read anything, they haven't been provided with anything, and the lease on your website does not have Exhibit B, which is the planning permit, the Coastal Commission permitting that's in violation.
Can I yield my time?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, the reason I am getting all this time is because the public and the community wasn't given with adequate notice or the documents. Now, going back to the lease that I was talking about, one of the concerns that was brought up by Guardo, I believe, is, that, and Mondo, I should say, is that, the different councils are not talking to each other. So the tenant plays one off the other. They're now in violation. One of the concerns I have with this lease is the indemnity provision. Because there's a history of playing off one from the other and nothing getting done, we need a very, very strong indemnity provision, which we do not have in this lease, should you sign a lease. And I think that's inappropriate. Right now, the lease provides that the tenant is to comply with the 2019 permitting and hasn't been complied with, then there's a trigger clause, which is inviting litigation. The tenant is currently in violation. We're giving him a lease that says, oh yeah, you have to be in compliance. And then that triggers litigation. And then with the litigation, we don't have a strong indemnity clause. So you're getting your $15,000 a month. I assure you, you will be paying way over $15,000 a month litigating against this tenant. Again, parking is a key issue, and the grant conditions that are mentioned in the lease must be complied with. This is property in trust for the public, not for privatization.
Ann Haggerty.
Commissioners, and thank you everybody for coming out. This is a very important issue. I urge you to not approve the lease as written today. It's well documented on the MCC website that over the years, as a result of the actions or inactions of this harbor district and the operator of the RV lot, that much needed general parking access has been lost. I just came from there today. There's signs, no parking, do not enter, and all of the parking is being taken already. And I can only expect that that's just going to continue. As parking conversations move forward as a result of GCSD's plans and Caltrans plans, you're going to have a lot of people. This issue of parking is going to come up at many different public venues, and there will be a lot of attention, I can guarantee you, on this issue that stands before you today. This district has a responsibility to provide access, parking for that area to the general public. So, you're going to have a lot of people coming and asking, how are you standing up for the average Joe? I've got contacts with the kite surfers, regular surfers, dog walkers, fishermen, and many others that want to use that space to park to access the area. The right thing to do is to give more spaces back to the average person. The least you can do, if you have to move forward with a lease, is to write in that no tow-in vehicles will be allowed at all. And everybody here, I was not able to comment, but the last meeting, I zoomed in and I listened to everybody acknowledging the issue of the limited amount of parking as a result of the bathroom rework. And everybody acknowledged that it's public parking, and the tow-in vehicles will be parked there. And I heard you struggle with a way to resolve that issue. The answer is to clearly write in no tow-in vehicles allowed.
Ann,
Yes, sir.
I'll give you the hook.
Okay, so just to finish that, I want to say I've talked with Fran Pollard. She's not able to make it here today, but she asked me to share with you that she feels the same way. And there's many other residents that were not able to be here that feel the same way.
Harry Gardner.
I'm Carrie Gardner. You can see my house from here. This is a parking nightmare already because this is what I would consider affordable area. We don't have garages where I live here. I consider the lack of parking that is now going to be a real problem in this area. The park people weren't listening that we needed more parking spaces. Now Caltrans is eliminating the parking along Highway 1. Where are people going to park? we're already fighting for parking spaces here. I consider this an inequity for those of us with less money. Most of the people here were not involved in any of the discussions for the park because they weren't physically living here at that time. I raised my kids here. I'm a single parent. I had limited resources financially. Finding a place where parking was affordable would have been critical for me to come over here. By eliminating the parking that's available for people like myself, I consider it an offense to those of us with less money. I find this an inequity problem, very specifically. I walk down at the RV park and I look at those vehicles there that are worth more than I make in 10 years. It is astounding to me that that is allowed to continue. Thank you.
Helene Campagnette, sorry if I mispronounced that.
Helene Campagner, I am an El Granada resident. I also have parking concerns. I only just learned about this issue with the RV park and lease renewal. Adding the Burnham strip plans along with the Caltrans plans to eliminate parking is going to have a significant impact on our community. Thanks. I cede my remainder of my time to Jim.
Monique La Liberté.
Hi, my name is Monique Liberté. You can also see my house from here. I surf, I have a dog, I walk on the beach.
There were three.
Closing off this area and creating a nightmare for parking for people that live here
President Mateusz is going to be.
is injustice. Do you all live here? Down here or up on the hill?
Couple blocks away.
I live in Montero, and I've lived here for 45 years, and I use both the highway parking. It's not been replaced.
I think it's a huge mistake and it's not at all good for this community. I reserve my time to this lovely woman.
Clean up with these comments. I just want to point out, I don't know if anybody remembers COVID times, but
Yes.
it was all parking here. And then we had the huge problem with sanitation, dirty diapers, trash everywhere, and it was horrible.
It's terrible.
We
It
picked up
was-
garbage every
And
day
poop
during
and
COVID.
diapers, it was a disaster.
And so we're inviting that again into our community. And for what? To privatize something that was granted and given to the community. This lease should not go forward. Especially now that we know they're already in breach. Who would enter into a contract with somebody that's already in breach?
Our public comment, we've got a couple of comments that were emailed in. Mike Wallace. Dear Mr. Haddon, as a local citizen, I do not approve the renewal of the Filler Point LLC RV lot, given the sharp reduction in public parking on the west side of the highway with all the landscaping, bathrooms, and ADA parking usage, which already cut approximately 25 spaces. I sat in on council meetings for those changes of use and noted the loss of public access parking at the time. It has now come to our attention that Caltrans plans to eliminate public parking along Highway 1 at the jetty as well. This will cause dramatic loss of public access and usage of a beloved local recreational area and beach, which is against Coastal Commission guidelines. This could well open the Harbor District, Half Moon Bay, and Caltrans to potential lawsuits down the road, which would be a waste of taxpayer funds. Please deny the renewal of the private RV park lease and restore that area to public parking. I'd appreciate if this letter was read into the record at today's Harbor District meeting. Thank you, Mike Wallace, 650-704-2077. I have a email from Benji D. Hi there, in reference to item D1, the people request parking over RV park renewal. As it is with the new toilets being built there, there's only parking for handicap with no parking going into effect for the people. We vote parking for the people and not more RV fees. Thank you, Benji Darrow, El Granada resident. I have a email from Jill Grant. I have consulted an attorney in regard to this lease extension. They respond that it's very unusual to extend a lease when in breach of a lease, since it is month to month now, and there is no reason to extend until in full compliance with lease. What's the rush? Why don't you keep the agreement month to month until Pillar Point RV Park is in full compliance, then reevaluate? Why are you rewarding a bad neighbor? The Pillar Point RV Park has not been compliant with their mitigation measures since they began hosting RVs on the Harbor District land, which is, by the way, in a coastal commission scenic view corridor. You should not be rewarding them with a lease before they get compliant with past requirements of the lease. Keep it month to month until the lessee gets their act together. Coastsiders have suffered for years while reaching out to the owner of the RV park, the Harbor District, and the city of Half Moon Bay to try and get the park compliant with mitigation measures in the CDP, but to no avail. The inappropriately planted cypress trees that grow out of control in the view corridor. The tall unshielded lights still have impact on our dark skies in the view corridor. The numerous 2 to 15 flags still are flown both day and night in the view corridor, one belonging to the RV park lit all night long, and others mounted on two poles from the RVs using the park. Last week, we saw a black flag with a skeleton signaling the end of work, as well as the American flag flying upside down. At the very least, make new agreements specify no flags, especially at night, because you legally have to light up a flag if it flies at night. Also, the El Granada Community Service District plans to remove informal Surfers Beach parking lot in 2025. Caltrans will remove all Highway 1 parking in El Granada for their Class 2 bicycle lanes. The Harbor District has a mission to provide fiscal, environmentally responsible stewardship of its maritime resources, emergency response, and public access. Removal of a parking lot for a public beach and jetty by conversion to an RV park is a significant impact to public access. So why not turn this RV park back into public parking it used to be? Sincere regards, Jill Grant. An email from Carrie Kemp Gardner, to whom it may concern. The area is an RV park, should be returned to its original intent as a parking area for visitors. The current parking situation is very dangerous. It will get even worse with the plans for Caltrans to eliminating parking on Highway 1 and the park proposed where the visitors currently park. This is the only area available close to the beach that does not require crossing Highway 1. It is a matter of equity. Let the less affluent visitors have safe parking. There's a new RV park owned by the same owner that can accommodate the more affluent RV crowd. The logic of removing public parking when visitors to our beautiful coast has increased so much is baffling. Please take into consideration other agencies' decisions to remove public parking and the implications of that before eliminating even more parking for the general public. Thank you, Carrie Kemp Gardner, 307 Coronado Street, El Granada, 9409-650-255-7476. So we heard a lot. I'd like to ask for a couple of commissioner comments on this. Commissioner Slater Carter.
President Matoush, did you want to move consent to the end?
I'm just going to take a couple of comments here before we go on with the agenda.
Oh,
Okay. Several comments. One, tons of free parking. It's right along the coastal trail. And it's right at the intersection of Capistrano. filed an
Not close
appeal.
enough.
Where is that?
Not close enough.
Vice President? That's, it's not even in
I'm,
Algrenada.
I'm speaking, please give me the respect. That's how public meetings work, is with respect. Respect all of you and all of your opinions, and I appeal number for the, project that is putting in 2 bike lanes and removing all the public parking. It is going to be heard de novo by the Coastal Commission, and public comments count. Count a lot. I've been working on coastal issues here for 30 years. And Highway 1, and it's free. Now, it's not a short walk. The reason for my appeal about handicapped access, and it's about making sure it takes care of their responsibility. Just like they have parking for Gray Whale Cove, was done by the state parks. Just like they have parking for Montero Beach. We need, and particularly Surfers Beach, has to have parking for the public at large and handicap. And please tell Coastal that you support my appeal, because they have all the land between the highway and the land that's owned by G. They don't have 8-foot wide bike lanes anywhere north of here. And as I said, I've lived here 45 years, 46 years. And except for the occasional bicycle race, I don't see nearly many bicycles as I see cars parked. And I've been driving from Montero to Half Moon Bay 45 years. Responsibility. I appreciate you said that agencies are working against each other in many times. This is a time we have parking spaces by the new bathrooms that the Harbor District just put in that are for handicapped. It cost, they have meters, but they are available. And they are for handicap, and they are public. That's parking spaces before that. We didn't have a very good bathroom. And I worked very hard on this lease. And I will say, we are insisting that the tenant put in the CDP requirements within the first year, I think. 180 days, the first 6 months. And Dan and I worked against this lease 25 years ago. And I got, which is okay, because I'm here now. So I encourage all of you to come, but please, please, the people who have the power, and we have a good coastal commission right now, is the Coastal Commission. You can read about it on Coastside, what's Michelle's site?
Coastside Buzz.
Coastside Buzz. I keep wanting to call it Coastside Breeze, but that's because it's talking. Coastside Buzz has articles on this appeal. We are working to make this a harbor district that does support the community. But we are an enterprise district, and we have to have income. And we're making a significant improvement in our income so we can provide other visitor serving and fishing serving, fishermen serving, and environmental funding to take care of this. We can't do it in a vacuum. So we need the money if we're going to spend it to improve it, and having income for the district is an improvement for the entire community because we can keep things clean, safe, painted, all of that stuff, which all takes money and staff. So please, again, right, Coastal Commission, use this appeal number and support their finding significant coastal access issue with this, and tell all of your ideas to them. They could put in 20 feet by several hundred feet of parking on the entire east side of Highway 1. It's all available, it's all owned by Caltrans. And still keep a bike lane on the east side, where people haven't been allowed to park by Half Moon Bay forever, when they put in the red lines. Please go talk to Half Moon Bay too, because they're taking away parking on the highway. And yes, they could slow down the speed limit too, although it's really hard to slow it down from 5 miles an hour on a busy.
Commissioner Slater Carter, would you read that number into the record because we can't see it on the camera for anybody?
Oh, I'm
that-
sorry. Okay, for the record, this is Coastal Commission Appeal A-2-SMC 24-0010, 24-0010.
Thank
I
you.
think I'm gonna be putting notes on the next door,
Mhm.
but please get a hold of me. I'm happy to talk to you guys about parking situations. It's been a problem. Yeah, it's something that's been going on.
It's everything to do with
You
what's
are
going
welcome
here.
to your opinion as I am tonight. Thank you.
Is there another commissioner comment?
I would just say, I don't live here, but I surf here a lot. I live in Pacifica. And the challenges of parking in Pacifica are also extreme, as you see more and more people, not from the community, but from outside the community coming in. When the temperatures hit over 100 degrees in San Mateo, everybody's in Pacifica and they're parking a mile into the communities. Same kind of things here. So it's a huge challenge. I think it's a lot bigger challenge than what we're all talking about today in terms of so many more people want to come to the coast. So I think it's going to take a bigger group of people and, you know, all the people who don't want to talk together, we need to sit everybody down around the table and force them to talk to say, look, we got to solve this problem. It's much more broader than 30 spots here. We need hundreds of spots. Because it's just, and then I've been driving up and down this road and surfing here for over 45 years. And even this Saturday, we were coming by visiting friends in El Granada and there's little kids running across the road and cars having this. It is dangerous. Nobody should be parking on that highway, but there's no place else. So I mean, I parked on that highway too. So I think I'd like to see us kind of look at the little bit bigger, broader problem and trying to get the people together
Yes.
that can solve that. So,
Starting right here today.
yeah.
We're talking about providing parking right now.
Yes, and trees and. That's how we were talking about that.
You're avoiding the issue.
Every agency passes the buck. Every single time they pass the buck.
Commissioner Zemke, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just like to echo George and Catherine's remarks. I do not live on the coast. I live in South San Francisco, although I live in a fairly densely populated part of the city, and parking is an issue. I mean, it's an issue here, it's an issue everywhere in the Bay Area, virtually. So I'm not unsympathetic to those concerns about parking, but I think like all of us, we're kind of searching for what's the best avenue to try and address that parking. Even if you opened up the lease, which I guess there's probably, if we try to get rid of the lease, there's potential roadblocks to doing that. It's not going to happen overnight. At best, you've got maybe 30 or 40 parking spaces that you could get there, which is maybe a drop in the bucket.
Something.
If we have a month-to-month, you get notice it's done, but you're afraid of this man, you're afraid of this
And you
town.
don't know exactly how many parking spaces?
I don't, has a lot,
Excuse me, this is not a back and forth.
right.
This is a meeting, and please respect, Bill. Thank you.
I don't know the length. I think Catherine mentioned that this was created 25 years ago.
This lease was created 25 years ago.
99.
And it had a 25-year extension
Extension.
attached to it. And we have put it on a much shorter renewal span. So that, and it is, the lease can be violated by not doing the terms of what's in the lease. When I reviewed it, and I am not an attorney, never pretend to be, honor and respect all the attorneys who do all the work they do. But we put in many, many, many times that if you don't accomplish this, if you don't do this, your lease is canceled.
Commissioner Chang Corrali.
I really don't have anything to say. I appreciate everyone's comments, and I definitely feel for you about the parking. I agree with the parking situation. But I will say that Catherine and I both, and I know the other commissioners too, but I've taken a look at this lease and tried to look at different provisions, different alternatives. And I mean, as a group, as a board, I think this is, the best that we could come up with under the circumstances. That doesn't mean that, we're not paying attention to the parking issue, because so I agree. But I do think that parking is the responsibility from multiple agencies, not just the Harbor District. And I'm not there right now. I'm actually on the East Coast calling in. I care about what everyone has said, but I also think that it just feels like the Harbor District is being blamed for the lack of parking, and we should all be collaborating. And I hope that collaboration will be more enlightening and more productive.
And to finish public comment, I hope that everyone talks to Caltrans. I hope everyone talks to the Coastal Commission. All of your commissioners have talked about the problems that we have with agencies working together. And whereas we're saying we're bumping it to another agency, we've had tremendous problems getting permits from this agency, permits from that agency, and it goes down the line and it never seems to end. The other thing is, people said they just found out about this meeting. This item's been agendized for several months. It was mentioned at the last meeting. We've had a special meeting. This particular meeting was agendized last week. And with that, I'm going to move on to the consent calendar. Item D, annual expenditures for special district risk management. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I will move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
I'd like to. I don't want to make a comment on it, please.
Okay, I will withdraw my approval.
Thank you.
Well, no, you can still discuss it with the motion.
There's only one on it, so we might as well just
I
discuss
just
it.
want us to make it a point to look at the interest rates we are getting from places we have our money and our accounts in. SDRMA is a good authority, special district, it's a special district finance authority. But I think we should also be looking at higher interest rate returns for the funds that we are going to be leaving in savings for a while. And otherwise, I approve this, but with the caveat that we need a review because CRMA is a lower interest rate.
Got a motion and a second. Do we have a roll call on it?
President Mateusz,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
All right,
Commissioner Domrat,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter.
Yes.
All right, that passes. Now we're on to item D1. So the requested activities are enter into a new lease with Pillar Point Harbor LLC. Got a recommended motion. General Manager Pruitt, do you wish to make a comment? We don't hear you.
Oh,
You're
You
still,
gotta-
you're
you
still
gotta-
on mute.
Yeah, push, remember, you've got 2 mutes going.
You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Good morning, President Matoush, Commissioners. This has been before the board before, and the board provided direction to me to go back and negotiate with the tenant for the renewal of the lease. The tenant has agreed to all provisions that the board requested be put into the lease and the changes made. And the lease before you is reflective of all those changes that have been approved by the board. If pending any questions, there's no further update on that lease.
Commissioner comments.
I guess the only comments I would make, and this is a special meeting, so it's not really maybe appropriate to talk about future agenda items, but the two things that I come away with from this meeting is one, the parking concern, which I appreciate everyone being here. We haven't had this kind of attendance in my tenure on the board, so it's obviously a very important issue to the public here. And I would hope that at some future point that we're able to get, at least among ourselves, a discussion going about the parking responsibilities, so we can maybe see what we can do to move that forward. The other thing too, which I know has been mentioned, Ed's mentioned it and other people have mentioned it at the time. How do we get to a point where we have a better, I'm not sure if you call it visibility or awareness of the community of what's on our agenda, when our meetings are, how we hold those meetings. It's probably time. I know I came on right at the beginning of COVID and everything was on Zoom, which presented its own problems. Now we're back in public. It's probably time for us to revisit how we conduct our meetings and the timing of those meetings and things like that. That's beyond the scope of this meeting, obviously, but I would hope that at some point we can kind of put that on the agenda to kick around. So, thank you, Tom.
Somebody like to make a recommended motion?
I will make the recommended motion. But,
Can you read it, please?
Good evening.
D1, recommended motion, adopt resolution number 24-15, approving and authorizing the general manager to execute a real property lease between San Mateo County Harbor District and the Pillar Point Harbor LLC, doing business as Pillar Point RV Park.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
And I'd like to add a comment. I
Okay,
would like
it's
to.
open for commissioner discussions.
I would like to see as an update, the progress on all of this as an update on our regular agenda.
Every month we would have an update on what's
Update on
going
the
on.
Pillar Point
Yeah.
RV Park.
I think that's a good idea.
And if you all come over and cook.
Commissioner Domerat.
I guess, again, it's not for a future agenda, but maybe we take some initiative to try to get the relative parties together to discuss this parking issue. So we get the city of Half Moon Bay, El Granada, the state, Caltrans, get everybody around the table. Because a lot of this area we're talking about parking now is not really Pillar Point Harbor property, it's other places, but we're part of that issue. So I would ask Jim Pruitt, if at all possible, that maybe we can kick it off and get the initiative started to look at it. I mean, I don't know who owns the property, but the area south of the light at Surfer Beach, there's a lot of empty area there that could be potential parking lot that is on the west side of Highway 1. So that's a possibility.
It's owned by the county.
It's owned by the county.
Talking about
Where's it
across
located?
from the new fire station?
Well, but we're going west, so right where the light is, on the area south of the light on the west side.
That's a park.
That has no parking. I'm looking at, are there options? Now, the other thing is that, as we start to build that beach, we're gonna do next year, the experiment, that's where that beach is gonna go, where the initial amount of material that will be placed from the harbor is gonna be right off of that light. So a parking area in that space, is that an option or not? But I'm saying that there's options. We need to all get together and talk about these things.
Agreed. Be involved, you know?
And the lease, at least, address that one writer's concerns about the flags and the offensive materials and stuff like that, like you guys.
Flag issue.
You know, the trees and the stuff that you guys do have to show.
Actually, a lot of that's already addressed in the contract, if you read it in the CDP.
The flags and lights and all of that.
The
I think
flags,
the lights are.
the
In
flags,
the letter, the resident here who has to look at the upside down American flag, that wrote in. The email. The email.
There's
Let's-
crossbones and.
Stolen, yeah,
I think we can work with with the tenant on reducing those. Maybe we can make them so they can't be any higher than the roof.
I'm asking whether you can do that.
I've been negotiating this lease for a long time, but we can't have we have a better working relationship with the landlord. Not the landlord, we are the landlord, I'm sorry, with the tenant. And, we specifically cannot make his rules, although we put some stuff in about maintaining the district and the parking lot and the RV park in a clean and sanitary manner, so. And frankly, I have asked for an agenda item about flags being flown in the harbor district, and it's going to be coming up on a future agenda. So please come to that, because we're going to be discussing it.
We have a motion and a second. We've got so I think discussion is about ended. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
President Matoush?
Aye.
Can I ask a question? Please, I didn't get a chance to sign in.
Commissioner Zemke, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Chang Crawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter.
Yes.
Right, motion passes. We had another question.
You know,
Not time
we're
for,
giving them 180 days to comply with something that they're already in breach in pursuant to coastal development permits. I'd like to make sure this is on the agenda and that in 180 days that you move to terminate this lease as required, and that we have progress reports every month on whether they are still in non-compliance.
I think if you also read the lease, you'll see that there are certain dates that are, they're required to communicate to us.
They've already reached those dates.
Water over the
I'd like
bridge.
to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
There was one public question. Oh, that's
I
right.
think
Sorry, you were.
everybody's in agreement that this is gonna have a kind of a negative effect parking. I'm not gonna go into that. Before my house becomes beach parking lot, whatever. I work for a surf school. My question is, I'm like one of more than a dozen people that do a lot of good for the community. We do, in the summer months, we thrive. We could do as many as 3 to 4 classes a day.
I've seen you.
I don't know what we're gonna do. That's gonna have a very negative effect on our productivity. I think there's gonna be a lot of kids and people that are just gonna be pushed on the back burner. I don't know where we're gonna park, and because I'm kind of almost a lead surf instructor, my boss is not here to speak his mind, but I wanna be able to relay some kind of message of assurance as far as what we're gonna do.
Please talk to the Coastal Commission. Please talk to Caltrans.
They don't bother. They ignore us. Coastal makes the
The
rules.
county would be another one, like I said, that one option. We ought to look at that empty spot. It's a park. There could be a small row of parking along there, possibly.
Yes, on the highway side, they could put in
And
diagonal
there's
park.
empty space on the other side too, I guess, just below the preschool there on the south side of the lake. But, you know, and people need to cross at that light. I mean, this past weekend, it was insane. I mean, some little kid, you know, mom and dad weren't controlling them. They were unloading their car on the east side of the road and they're running across the Highway 1 major thoroughfare. It's a death waiting to happen in that
Let's
area.
finish,
Let's
let's finish our roll call vote.
Okay.
Is everybody finished?
Yeah.
Okay,
Didn't adjourn though.
Vehicles into the RV lot. You
Excuse me,
didn't
I
even
didn't
talk
get your
about it.
name.
You didn't even-
No, I don't think that, did we adjourn the meeting? Because I didn't get a roll call for that adjournment.
Yeah, you have to do a roll call for the adjournment.
Didn't take down any
I
information.
already asked for roll call. I know we were halfway into it, so we'll try
I don't
again.
think it ever got done.
Roll
Commissioner
call for
Zaki.
adjournment. Catherine?
We're gonna vote again here for adjournment.
Made the motion, yes.
Well, apparently we got
Okay, well-
sidetracked in public comments.
Just for the record.
Aye.
Commissioner Zaki.
Aye.
Commissioner Donald.
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter.
For the record, yes, yes, yes.
Commissioner Chang Crawley.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 10:50.